with us, but we're glad you can join us. I have just a couple of announcements for our students, and then we will get going. I just want to remind our students, we have some folks who are struggling to get to class on time. This is a little bit happening more in 7th grade than it is in 6th and 8th. So we do just want to remind all of you to please get to class on time. We are instituting our 3 times and a detention lateness for our 7th graders that will start today. So, and that is already in place for our 6th and 8th graders. So we really want to make sure that you're packing 2 classes, right? Every time you get a break between 2 classes. So you're packing your first 2 periods, break, you go back to your locker. Pack 2 more periods, back to your locker. You should not be going to your locker between every period. It's going to slow you down, and it's going to keep our teachers behind as well. So thank you for helping us keep the learning moving. And finally, a reminder about TAP. Mr. Branch is usually wonderful about coming out around 12:30 and going, TAP. He has that wonderful deep voice. Please do not go into the buildings until you hear Mr. Branch say his lovely TAP alert, okay? We like our buildings to be, because our teachers are not in there, we're not ready for you to be in there, so at 12:30 he'll say that, and then you're welcome to come in for TAP. So those are my 2 reminders. Any other announcements from adults before we get started? Ms. Balcazar. Thank you. 6th and 7th graders, please do not worry. That was an announcement for our 8th graders, so you didn't miss anything. Any other announcements from adults? Fantastic. Our 4 speakers today, Emily Bai, Elia Showalter, Adelaide Shulman, and Sunny Weaver.
Okay, shoot. My experience with Chinese food has been present my entire life. My parents are immigrants from a Chinese province called Jiangsu. Despite being the first in my entire family to have been born in America, I grew up eating Chinese food my entire life. And my mom cooked most of those meals. The majority of my childhood was also spent in China as well, instead of my birth country. Due to this, I've had a lot of what I feel is authentic Chinese food. This includes a wide variety of dishes, including anything as basic as breakfast congee, delicacies such as Jiangsu's iconic squirrelfish, or a dim sum favorite, lotus-wrapped sticky rice. But, well, here's the thing. In America, Chinese food tends to get twisted into an artificial fake version of what it truly is, genuine parts of our culture. A lot of times, only the most popular items are known by general audiences, things like fried rice, dumplings, spring rolls, and so on. But even those dishes are sometimes simply off, something hard to exactly pinpoint just to the variations of dishes according by the region. And in many cases, excellent dishes are often ignored altogether. So for my seminar project, I've decided to educate others on authentic Chinese food, or more specifically, to make real Chinese food available to middle school Bryn Mawr students. The best way I've decided to do this is to create a new Chinese food school lunch menu option in collaboration with the wonderful dining hall staff. It's been a long journey with a fair amount of mistakes and surprises and roadblocks that life frequently offers up. For example, several weeks were spent on the decision of how to best present authentic Chinese food to my audience in a way that would both allow the most people to be able to try, but also in a way that fit within the parameters given for this particular course and also my own. But then again, problems in life are often as much as a step back as they are an opportunity for a step forward. Even throughout the several mistakes, overcalculations, and degradation for several factors of the equation I've experienced in this course, they have not come without benefits. For one, it has helped strengthen my communication to people outside my comfort zone. For example, in cases when I must reach out to people, such as for interviews or production talks with experts in a field. For another, this class has also helped boost my decision-making skills. I've had to consider a wide variety of ways I could take my project multiple times and select a single one from all of that. Overall, I've learned a lot from this class, and I hope that by the end of my project, you all will have as well on some authentic Chinese food. Thank you.
The chanters stop their hymns of life in the grave. The lights are dimmed, the darkness travels. I hear the rustling of silk and satin as my nail scrapes the wax of my candle, the crystal of the grand chandelier reflecting the light of the first flame. From the heart of the altar, the priest emerges with a miraculously lit candle in his hand. "Come receive the light," he says as he selectively passes the flame first to the deacons, then the altar boys, who in turn pass the gentle fire row by row. My name is Elia Chara Showalter, and I am a part of the Greek Orthodox Church of Annunciation. At my church, there are boys whose job it is to help the priest in performing sacraments every Sunday and on holidays. They are called papadakia, little priests, also known as altar boys. Ever since I have been able to look over the church pews and watch boys my age serving this important role, I have wondered why I could not do the same. After asking my mother why girls were not allowed as altar boys or behind the altar, she directed me to question our priests. We received no response to my request to join the church's acolytes. I wondered if other girls had also wanted to serve the altar, if other women felt excluded in our community. I contacted my peers from Goya, the Greek Orthodox Youth of America, quickly discovering that many shared the same views. I knew I wanted to start a conversation, if not to change centuries of tradition, but to set forth a spark that would build the flame of change, the spark that ignited in me that night at Easter, a revelation where I saw the division of gender applied in real life. I began by finding information about the traditions of girls being excluded in the Greek Orthodox religion. I learned that in early Christianity, women were allowed behind the altar and were even ordained as deaconesses, one position lower than the priest. Soon after, a rule was written stating that women were forbidden from entering the altar, for they had no function in being there. Opposingly, Father Lawrence Farley writes about how nuns in all female monasteries do help priests in preparing tasks. He says this shows that women being kept out of the altar is less about women as it is about function and necessity. But I ask, if this is so, then why are girls not allowed to hold the same responsibilities as boys on Sundays? Other beliefs that are still argued in today's world include that girls should be kept out of the altar due to menstruation and that this natural occurrence is a ritual impurity. The first interview I conducted was with a female rabbi, Nora Finston. I wanted to understand how a religion can face barriers and progress alongside modern events. She spoke to me about how there is power in numbers, both in showing a community and giving strength to those who may think they are alone in their beliefs. She told me that in order for change to take place, people need to reflect on the foundation of their religion, the beliefs that coincide with their faith, seeing if those same beliefs align with what is currently being implemented. Trevor Bullock, the adult leader of Goya and a priest in training in my church, told me during my next interview, our culture goes through various phases and the church tries not to be swayed by that all the time. He seemed to agree with the idea that girls should have greater leadership roles, but then seemed to remember the church's views by saying that it will not change just because there are changes in society. When talking to Kleos Damatos, the daughter of a Greek Orthodox priest, she told me how her father brought her daughter into the altar, breaking the rules, emphasizing to the opposing community that these aren't God's rules, these are men's rules. When an altar boy fainted within the sacred space, Dr. Maria Brown sprinted to his aid. In those moments, she did not think about her given place as a woman. She showed me an article from the Archdiocese of America that highlighted the discrepancies between belief and practice. In the doctrines, women are respected as equals, but when it comes to reality, they always tell us, oh, there are other ways for you to serve. On December 5th, Bishop Philotheos came to Annunciation Cathedral to ordain and give his blessing to the boys and deacons serving within the altar. As an afterthought, following the ceremony, the girls were thanked for completing a community service project. That same day, I went up to the bishop with all my courage to ask him if he would be willing to set up an interview with me. He agreed to speak with me, but clarified that his response would be in alignment with the church and not his own opinions. For my final project, taking all the information I gathered, I created a Zoom meeting with my priest and other girls from my community to discuss the role of women in the Greek Orthodox Church. We presented different articles and the possibility for change, showing him that there are people who want to create a difference and that in this outdated tradition. His response was, "This is going to be an age-long question that's going to go throughout the history of time, but this is something I don't see the answer that you're going to want to hear." My seminar project has become a movement within my church's community. We are not waiting for ages to pass. Our conversation continues. The fire has been lit. The flame is catching. Thank you.
LGBTQIA community is a term used to represent a community of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexuality, and other identifications. Personally, I view Bryn Mawr as trying to grow in the diversity of religion, race, culture, identity, and gender, but we still have a long way to go. My name is Adelaide Shulman, and as someone who identifies as queer and lives around a very diverse community, I wanted to contribute to this growth. People being comfortable sharing their thoughts and opinions are very significant to me, and I would like to implement this into Bryn Mawr. For my seminar project, Making Something Real for Someone Real, I immediately knew I wanted to create something that relates to the community I identify with. In the first few classes, we did different activities, such as the Bad Idea Factory, where my classmates and I learned that most bad ideas can turn into a better or good idea. Another activity we did was the wallet activity, where we had a client and we had to make a wallet based on what the client wants. These two activities were very significant to me because they showed me to focus on how my seminar project can contribute to the real world. Another interest I have is art, specifically visual art. Ever since I was a child, I've always found a way to make art, and visual art has been a passion I've enjoyed for as long as I can remember. As the next main step was to create a goal, or what I wanted my project outcome to be, I confirmed my goal was to create a visual painting that recognizes the LGBTQIA community. One struggle I've faced was understanding the difference between a safe space and a brave space, a website specifically covering health conditions share. Some critics suggest that safe spaces are a direct threat to free speech, foster groupthink, and limit the flow of ideas. Brave spaces can provide a break of judgment, unsocialized opinions, and having to explain yourself. It also allows people to feel supported and respected. This is especially important for minorities, members of the LGBTQIA community, and other marginalized groups. After looking over a couple articles relating to this issue, I decided not to focus on whether this painting related to a safe space or a brave space. One of the hardest parts during this process was creating a rough draft. At first, I had no idea what to put on this canvas, and because I decided to have it around 3 to 4 feet tall, it was very intimidating. Thanks to my friends Virginia, Harper, and my sister Susan, I was able to gain multiple perspectives. Winter break was the time I spent on the piece, and by the end of the break, it was finished. The painting is hung around the North Building lobby next to the Teacher's Lounge, and you can go visit it if you would like. These photos show the progress over winter break. Throughout seminar, I've learned that making a difference does not mean that you have to be amazing at something or that you have to have very strong feelings. Rather, it's about creating something you're proud of and has meaning in any form. Personally, I'm really proud of my piece, and I think that it has great meaning to me. This is the final outcome. Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Sunny Weaver, and I'm doing my project. My name is Sunny Weaver, and I'm doing my seminar topic on sexual assault on college campuses. When I first started exploring my topic, I didn't know what my something real for my someone real would be. After thinking up a bunch of different topics, my mom brought to my attention that I should choose something that isn't talked about a lot. With that, I chose sexual assault on college campuses because it isn't talked about enough, and because the more people or students who know about it, the more we are helping college students who are victims while also bringing awareness to it. There are many things I learned while exploring this topic. I learned from the RAIN website that it hasn't been proved that females who go to college are at a higher risk of being assaulted than females who aren't in college. Another thing I learned is that the most sexual assault reports that happen start in the fall around Thanksgiving break, and because of this, most freshman students transfer because of that. There are many more things I learned, but I think the most important thing I learned is that it is believed that if the victim who knows the person who has assaulted them, it is less likely for them to report it because they are worried for the safety of themselves or their families. Being sexually assaulted can affect students in many different ways, such as pregnancy, mental health issues such as anxiety, PTSD, depression, trauma, paranoia, etc. Most of my information comes from my sources. One of my sources was a college student, and she was, unfortunately, sexually assaulted while she was at college. When I contacted her, she said that she feels that a topic such as sexual assault isn't really talked about, and not just at colleges, but also at schools too, and that it would be important for middle and high school students to know and learn about. My second source was from a sexual assault expert, Zoe Peterson. Ms. Peterson works at Indiana University as the director of the Sexual Assault Research Initiative, and she said that she feels that over the years, a lot has changed because people, such as myself, are doing more to bring awareness to sexual assault on college campuses. Along with my information from a victim and an expert, I also researched real-life cases because it would be useful. Most of my information comes from exploring. Most of my important case that I explored on was the Larry Nasser case. 58-year-old Larry Nasser, the former doctor who worked at the University of Michigan for the women's national gymnastics team. He was accused of sexually assaulting most of the females on the team for 18 years. Nasser assaulted many females, some of who we know as Simone Biles, Gabby Douglas, Jordan Weber, and many more. But Rachel Den Hollander was the first person to come forward and report it and accuse Nasser in 2016 of August. Afterwards, he was found guilty and was sentenced to 60 years in prison plus an additional 40 to 175 years. This case is important because it shows that a person in an important position, such as Larry Nasser, takes advantage of vulnerable and innocent people and families who relied on him as a doctor. After gathering information from all of my sources and finding more on different websites, I was able to put a booklet together that has enough information about prevention, effects it has on students, real cases, and many more important things about my topic. Although we aren't in college yet, I feel that it is important to know all of this information because it may come in handy when we all go off to college or throughout life. I learned many things while exploring this topic, but I also learned many things while taking this seminar class. I learned how to mature, and I acquired the knowledge of contacting other people of whom I don't know. Overall, I enjoyed taking this class and exploring the topic I didn't know much about. Thank you.
Eighth graders, you continue to impress us with the depth of your work and the topics that you are courageously choosing to follow. You continue to just amaze all of us. Ms. Vines is not able to be here with us today. She may be on YouTube and clapping and crying as she usually is because of how proud she is of all of you. So I will step in today to give you your certificates of completion for our seminar journey. Emily Bai, Authentic Chinese Food. Elia Showalter, Passing the Flame of Change. Adelaide Shulman, LGBTQ+, visual painting. And finally, Sunny Weaver, sexual assault on college campus. Thank you all for your kind attention and have a wonderful afternoon.